Let's welcome the rookie winner as well from Colombia. The wait is over. It's time for the UAE4 series to kick off and get underway for the 2026 season. Here at the meeting place of champions, Yas Marina. Qualifying one has given us pole position for Alexander Bondarev of the Mumbai Falcons racing team. But he's one of only 38 possible winners in this first race of the season. So, what's going to happen? Only Yas Marina and the UAE4 series drivers can give us the answer. Should be a very interesting race one ahead of us. You can see the cars about to depart for the starting grid. It'll be an interesting battle from the front for this man, Alexander Bondarev of Ukraine for Mumbai Falcons. He gets himself into pole position for the first race in UAE4 series history. This new championship organised by EMSO, the Emirates Motorsport Organisation, and Top Speed Events Limited. To see everybody in position, ready to continue the Middle East single-seater journey. This is the first chapter in the 2026 motorsport season for single-seater race fans, and of course it's also a first chance for these young competitors to get out of the world of karting and into the world of Premier category racing. The pit lane is expected to open at 4:40 local time, so we are a little bit behind in our schedule, but we will stay live so that you can see all of the competitors ahead of this new exciting season's competition. It's definitely going to be a very exciting challenge ahead for all of the drivers, and we're very keen to see what that's going to mean for the wheel-to-wheel drama that we usually tend to see at the Yas Marina circuit. And here in the UAE4 series opener, the first race of the championship, we have got plenty of great racers who want to charge their way forward. For the XL Motorsport team, we've got a fabulous quintet of racing drivers. I almost said quartet, but it's actually 5 drivers technically, as we look at Jarrett Clark getting himself ready for the battle. He has 4 teammates technically. Jabba Al-Sabah, the Kuwaiti driver, along with Brock Burton, the Australian, 21 years of age, got a podium in F4 Australia last year, and Joseph Smith, the 16-year-old from Cambridgeshire in the United Kingdom. They actually have a 5th driver, although technically he is not in the XL Motorsport squad. He is part of the XGP satellite entry, although he is in the same garage with the same engineers around him. That is Lucas Pasquinetti. So all of the youngsters getting themselves ready for an exciting challenge ahead. There is Lucas Pasquinetti getting himself dialed in, and alongside him the number 23, that is the Australian Brock Burton, who had some difficulties in time qualifying that have kept him from the sharp end of the field. Fortunately though, he is the kind of driver who likes to roll his sleeves up and get on with it. You can actually see the drivers getting themselves dialed in ready by watching the nearby 24-hour race at Dubai. Honestly, when these guys aren't racing, they're watching racing. They absolutely love it. What a fantastic start to the season the United Arab Emirates always gives us, whether it's in GTs or in single-seaters. But we are very excited indeed for this new category. For those who are wanting to know the difference, why is the championship called UAE4 Series? Well, we'll give you a quick crash course guide. As we have two single-seater championships taking part in the United Arab Emirates over the course of the season, one in January and February and one in November and December, FIA certification status can only be given to one of those competitions moving forward into 2026, and so it has been given to the latter, Formula Trophy UAE, as it shares a race weekend with the Formula 1 race at the end of the season at Abu Dhabi. So that's the series that has official FIA certified status. You can't have two categories of the same formula under FIA certified status in the same season in the same location. So that's why UAE4 Series has been created for the start of the season to continue the journey on the same package as Formula Regional, which will also explain why that's now a trophy and not a championship in that broadcast later on. The safety car just taking its position at the front of the field, having done its circuit sweep so that it knows exactly where all of the marshal posts are green flagged and where there are no problems around the circuit. Once we get the all clear, we'll get the command at 16:40 local time, and we will go racing for the first time in 2026. And there are plenty of exciting battles ahead of us. So let's talk you through what happened in the earlier qualifying session to put us into this position in the first place. Earlier today, 38 drivers took to the circuit and put us into qualifying trim. 15 minutes per session out on the circuit, and it was very tight indeed up at the top end of both sessions. But it was the Ukrainian star Alexander Bondarev that got us into pole position for the very first race of the season. Very intense battles across the two qualifying sessions. But once green flag running was established throughout both first and second parts of the first session, it was easy pickings in the end for the Mumbai Falcons driver relatively, who took both of the race victories, of course, at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix support race weekend on the Formula 1 finale at the end of 2025, just a month ago. So he is absolutely in the form of his life, and Alexander Bondarev may have had a lot of pressure from the drivers around him, but he was able to soak up the pressure. And Bondi the Bison went up to the top of the timesheets, unvanquished by any of his opponents around him. Great to see the former European karting champion at junior level back in 2023 continue his epic journey into single-seaters as a Williams F1 junior and continue his journey forward. Great to see the PHM racing team back in action, having had their little foray of amusement with the AIX racing fraternity. Now they're back under their own independent steam. There's Ariel Elkin, who's been spending the last couple of seasons in the United States. He's coaching Platon Kostin over the course of this campaign. Really hope we get to see Ariel Elkin behind the wheel of a race car soon. The very talented youngster has been putting on an amazing amount of performances out in the States. There is Jacopo Martinese, the latest Cetilar-backed karting ace to step into single-seaters. And behind the two cars, you can see the Austrian talent Emma Felbermeyer, Sauber Junior and racer in the F1 Academy in the main body of the season. So good to see her here warming up for the season. Very exciting battles up and down the length and breadth of this competition and on the Yas Marina circuit. For those who are Formula 1 fans and haven't really had the chance to focus on single-seaters prior to this point, other than Formula 1, we are using exactly the same layout and configuration as Formula 1. However, we are in a different part of the circuit for our starting grid and pit lane. We are on the far side of the circuit rather than on the Grand Prix circuit's pit lane paddock, and that is because we are sharing the race circuit with other championships. They are based in the Grand Prix pit lane. We base ourselves in the support paddock, which actually is advantageous to us because it essentially gives us a paddock to ourselves to play with rather than sharing it with other championships. So we get ourselves ready for another exciting duel out on the course. The photograph that pitched all of the drivers from F4 and Formula Regional together for the pre-season photo snaps. Great to see all of the drivers enjoying themselves and getting prepared for what lies ahead. They have come from all four corners of the globe, with drivers representing North and South America, as well as across the Middle East, Asia, Europe, and the Pacific. It really is great to see everybody gearing up for this new season, and we are very excited to see what's to come. Theo Palmer getting himself lined up for the Hi-Tech Racing team as he prepares for action. He is the only one of the two Hi-Tech drivers in Hi-Tech colours, the boy from Dubai, race winner in F4's British Championship and front runner in the F4 Saudi Arabia Championship before coming here. And great to see that he is preparing for another exciting bout on the course in his home country. There's the team from Qatar's Motorsport and Motorcycle Federation. Good to see them preparing. They're in assistance with Hi-Tech, and we've got two drivers from Qatar, Ben Al-Sulaiti, who raced with us last year, and Nasser Al-Thani, the man you're looking at on your screen, who is making his debut in the competition. Those two will, of course, get to race on home turf when we go to the fourth and final round of the championship, which will be in Losail on the Qatar-based circuit, which is also a Formula One venue. But for these two, it will be extra special because they will race on home soil. F1 Academy fans will know, of course, of Alba Larsen. Great to see her in the Whoop car, getting ready for her exciting battle over this 4-weekend category before she goes back to the world of F1 Academy for another campaign. And she has been getting faster and faster all the time here. The ultimate goal, of course, is to be in the top 5 outright, not the best of the ladies. But all of the drivers here, if you ask them, they will say, I don't want to be the best lady, I want to be the best racing driver. End of discussion. Thomas Ingram Hill getting himself ready for the Evans GP squad that has their base at Sepang International Circuit, although they are, of course, Australian in licence. And Josh Evans and the team getting ready for another exciting season. There's Nida Anis just on the left front wheel there. One of the hardest working mechanics in the sport, alongside Ben Yuing, who she is engineering this year. Good to see the Momentum branding on the visor of Ben Ewing's helmet there. Momentum slowly becoming the Demon Tweaks of Asia, led by Lillian and her fantastic team of people out of Kuala Lumpur. So now we are seeing the marshals and the mechanics for the various teams make their way onto the starting grid. It's going to be a busy one because we have 38 cars to put onto the starting grid. That is a phenomenal entry list for this first race weekend of the season. So it will definitely be very interesting indeed. Please do let us know who you're cheering for over the course of this weekend and the course of this season. You can add your comments on the YouTube chat live stream. If you have any questions as well before the build-up of the race, or as the build-up of the race is continuing, I should say, do please drop them to me. I'll try and answer as many as we've got time for. If I miss any, I apologise. But obviously the first priority is getting the race coverage to your screens. There's Florentin Hattemer, the Swiss driver, gearing himself up for the 2026 season with Trident, a team that needs no introduction to Feeder Series fans. 3-time title winners in a row in FIA Formula 3 on the Grand Prix weekend. So this is just business as usual for them as they line up alongside their opponents on the grid. Dominik Šimek getting himself ready as well. The young man from Czechia, or the Czech Republic. And he carries the Forza Racing stickers on his nose. It's amazing how these youngsters go into F4, but they still carry their karting heritage with them. And it's been a long time since I was last in the FIA karting paddock back in 2023, but it's wonderful to see so many of these fantastic talents work their way back up into the world of single-seaters. Great to see how they have evolved and how they continue to evolve. And when you think that there's a handful of drivers that came from this world, as I watched them even before this in karting, and now they're all on the Formula One grid, the likes of Lando Norris, George Russell, Isaac Hajar, Andrea Kimi Antonelli, Gabriel Bortoletto, Arvid Lindblad. They all came from this world. This is the starting point that takes you to Formula One, and it's wonderful to see these incredible talents emerge. So we're going to see all of the drivers get themselves geared up for an amazing showcase. And the competitors are ready for what is awaiting us now. So Gogord1252 is asking, how do you think the rookies are going to perform in their first open wheel race? How long is a piece of string? I don't know is the answer. There are so many different learning speeds and different talents from different types of racing. Some have come from other F4 championships. Some have come from testing. Some have come from karting at local level. Some have come from regional level. Some have come from international level. So there is so many different variants for these rookies to come in. And it's a bit like school and college. Everybody learns at their own pace. Just because they're not clicking with it now, that doesn't mean they won't click with it by the end of the season. It's like a light bulb that comes on at the back of a young driver's mind. You flick the switch and think, oh, that's how I've got to drive. And sometimes it takes a little bit longer than others for them to get it. But once they've got it, they never lose it. And that can take them to the world of GT racing, to TCR, to other forms of single-seater, out to America. There are so many opportunities for these youngsters, and they all have to use this as their starting point before figuring out where they're going to go. Some will end up in Formula E, some will go to Le Mans, some will go to IndyCar, some will go to Bathurst 1000 or Nürburgring 24 hours. Some will even be fortunate enough to go all the way to Formula One. But it's going to be really exciting to see which of the rookies really opens the taps and does a good job. Certainly the likes of Kenzo Craigie and Christian Castoya are going to be ones to watch out for of the rookies contingent. They're going to be very exciting to keep an eye on. Obviously the guys and girls at Mumbai Falcons and Prema. Keep an eye on Peyton Westcott and Emily Cotty. The female contingent are a lot stronger this year than they have been in recent years. In particular, Emily Cotty has knocked on the door of the top 10 in both qualifying sessions, and she has been defiantly against the idea of getting onto the F1 Academy grid. Of all the drivers her age who are looking at F1 Academy, she ain't one of them. She is defiantly going down the F4 and Formula Regional route in the future, and she wants to be in the top 10 of those categories. And I personally say, as great as the F1 Academy is, and it is great to get people on the upsurgence, good luck to her, because I really hope that she is able to break through this current trend of lady drivers getting very strong up to the top of F4, and then they hit the Formula Regional stumbling block. And I'm hoping that 2026 is the year that changes, and we get a couple of drivers who really start to attack that status quo and make some change. All it takes is one or two strong talents to make it happen, and history will be rewritten. So for those asking, do we have any girls on the grid? That is Nakudza who wants to know. Well, we've got 5 on the current grid of UAE4 series. We've got Kaylee Countryman and Peyton Westcott of the United States of America. We've got the Dane Alba Larsen from Roskilde in Zealand in Denmark. Emma Thelbermeyer from Wels in Austria. I very nearly said Australia there, I do apologise. From Wels in Austria. And of course from Chichester in the United Kingdom, we have the 16-year-old Emily Cotty. So that's 5 ladies who are in the grid. And I have to say that 3 of them have been knocking on the door of top 10 consistently over the course of this week. And that is Emily Cotty, Peyton Westcott, and of course also in the mix, Alba Larsen. So let's see what the drivers will make of this first test of the 2026 UAE4 Series season. Only 12 races compared to last year in the F4 UAE Championship when they had 15 races. That means the education is tougher. You get fewer chances to put up a show. So you've got to make every single chance count. There are no second chances. You've got to just give it everything you've got and hope for success. Out onto the circuit the drivers go. UAE4 Series in 2026 will shortly begin. So the contenders head out onto the circuit for their reconnaissance lap. They'll go around and complete 1 or 2 laps, depending on what the drivers decide they want to do. Most of them will choose to do 2, but at the end of the first lap they will drive through the pit lane rather than on the starting grid, because obviously there are personnel on the starting grid, whereas in the pit lane the speed is regulated and controlled in one lane, so it's much safer to drive through the pit lane than it is to continue on the circuit. So the race is due to start in a little under 15 minutes time. as the competitors are now putting themselves onto the circuit and dialing themselves up. And of course the sun is setting rather rapidly here in Abu Dhabi on the Yas Marina circuit that's been holding Formula One races since 2009. And it is certainly one of the better circuits that Herman Tilke has designed. Formula One fans have been frustrated by its lack of overtaking opportunities at times over the years. But in all the other formulas that I've been able to commentate on it, this place is fantastic for racing. And it showcases just how much hard work the drivers are putting in. Great to see so much fan support from so many different territories. Looks like we've got people watching in from the Philippines, hoping that Pinnacle will have a very strong run out there as well. So the drivers heading out onto the circuit then to drive around the course. Most of them will drive through the pit lane and then do another lap, and then they will form up on their starting grid positions. And all the time while they're driving around, the engineers are talking to them over the radio, telling them what they need to do, what settings they need to be in on the car. They've got buttons on the steering wheel to assist them with putting the car into those modes. It's amazing to think, isn't it? Back in the day, you would have Formula Ford and Formula Renault and Formula Opel cars that had no buttons on the steering wheel at all. Now, the drivers have almost as many gizmos as they have in Formula 2 and Formula 3 on F4 cars. Just astonishing. So as the drivers get themselves into position around the course, great to see people watching from all four corners of the globe. We've got drivers representing almost every continent. Sadly, no African drivers this year. We've had competitors from Morocco and South Africa, as well as Egypt over the years, but on this particular occasion, Africa is the continent that has an absence of presence from the starting grid this year. But we've got drivers from North and South America, across Europe, across the Middle East, across Asia, as vast a continent as it is, and as well into Australasia, with even drivers from both Australia and New Zealand represented, even if they aren't carrying the nation's flag. Emily Cotty is actually mixed heritage of British and New Zealand. And of course the Rodin Motorsport team that you'll see later in Formula Regional, well, they are registered as Kiwis. So now we gear ourselves up, ready for the start of another single-seater international season. And here in the United Arab Emirates, it's been a reasonably long wait for those who are impatient like me. 4 weeks since the last time we went racing in the United Arab Emirates at the end of the Formula Trophy UAE season. And it's great to be back once again to continue that story once more. In the gaze of the W Hotel, one of the most spectacular buildings to have been built in the Middle East over the last 20 years. It really is a fabulous tribute to the architecture around here. That was built 17 years ago, and it still feels as fresh as a daisy, doesn't it? That's quite incredible. We're currently on the piece of the race circuit, not only where Verstappen made his bid on Lewis Hamilton and became a champion for the first time, but also where the local drivers here in the United Arab Emirates actually race in karting in the various categories. That section of the course is actually closed off and shortened, and they race in Rotax and in X30 in Miami engines around this particular part of the circuit. Always very exciting to see when the drivers choose to do that, because these kids have always longed to race on a Formula One circuit. Well, some of them get to do so as young as 8. So as the contenders make their way onto the starting grid, they will form up in their grid positions as allocated to them from the qualifying sessions. And it really is going to be a fantastic battle that awaits us out on the circuit, and the drivers are ready for what awaits us. It's going to be a very tricky battle down to the first corner, that is for sure, as Alexander Bondarev takes up his position on pole of the grid. The Ukrainian Williams Junior Academy driver, Bondi the Bison. He has been known for many years now. Great to see him as he puts himself into pole position. A fantastic start to his 2026 motorsport season. And the man who has been a real favourite amongst motorsport fans for quite some years. He battled against injury a few years ago after a monstrous accident at Duera in Spain and has bounced back, become a European karting champion in 2023. And ever since he got into F4, he has got so many fans around the world, not just in Ukraine. The man alongside him is in the sister Prema team, David Cosma of Romania. Hails from just outside the nation's capital of Bucharest. And he will have a very interesting opportunity from that front row of the starting grid to work his way further forward and charge his way into the first corner, hopefully, from his point of view, in first position. There is Andy Consani, the Frenchman, third position on the starting grid. And it really is going to be exciting for him. The Mercedes junior driver joined them just recently. And it is an absolutely sensational situation for him as he finds himself on that second row of the starting grid. He can follow the first two drivers up to the first corner. The youngster, 15 years of age, from Aix-en-Provence. Alongside him on the grid, Adam Alazari. You can never, ever count this boy out. He always brings his A game to the table. And when he starts a race in the top five, overtakes come swiftly. The man lives in Dubai, just down the road from here. And just like his brother Keanu and his father Kareem before him, he brings entertainment by the bucketful. There's Rowan Campbell-Pilling, 19 years of age, from Sheffield in Great Britain. Good to see him in position as he brings a lot of experience and a lot of wisdom to the Pinnacle operation. He may be slightly older than some of the drivers around him, but that will really help the Pinnacle team maximise on their 10th anniversary as a team. John O'Hara and his boys and girls who put on a fantastic show. Their headquarters are in Manila in the Philippines, and they will continue their journey into their second decade. There's Alpak Soy. What a story. This young man from Istanbul has been sensational since he got into a racing car just 5 weeks ago, pretty much. Maybe a little bit longer than that. I would probably say 9 weeks ago is more accurate from the start of the Formula Trophy UAE, but he won that championship going away. And that is an absolutely phenomenal thing to say about a driver who had never raced in F4 prior to this point. So there's plenty more to come from him, I'm sure. And what about this boy? Elia Weiss, 16 years of age, from Munich in Germany, the son of the great Claudia Hürtgen, a fabulous racer in her own right, and the youngest driver ever to test a Formula E car in an official session. In July last year, he stepped in to Porsche's garage. What an opportunity. And he sees that as his ultimate future. He can see the prosperity and the potential career of electric racing. We wish him all the best and we hope he gets there. Kenzo Craigie is next in the lineup. Mercedes Junior, 15 years of age, from Epsom. He was the Champions of the Future, OK champion in 2025, world champion in the junior category in 2024, on home turf in PF International. Big opportunities coming from him. There's Kingsley Jung. Good to see him in the mix. 15 years of age, raced for ASD Monster K when he was in FIA karting. And he continues his journey, having been based in Italy for the last few years. Good to see him elevate his way further forward. Sebastian Weldon walking up and down the grid before he gets ready for the drive of his life in Formula Regional. There's Christian Castoya, McLaren's latest young hot shoe, under the tutelage of Warren Hughes of the McLaren Junior Driver Programme. He's got big ambitions and he's got great potential. And there is Emily Cotti, for my money, one of the top female F4 drivers on the planet right now, if not the very top. Italian F4 and Euro 4 ladies champion last year, genuinely with the pace to win races outright, defiantly, vehemently, not entering F1 Academy anytime soon. You've got to love the audacity and the attitude of sheer defiance. Niccolo Maccagnani, a man nobody had heard of 6 months ago, but in testing in F4 against the Ferrari Junior Academy drivers, he was quicker than them all. And what followed was a quick phone call from Ferrari for him to join up. A couple of F4 Southeast Asia wins later, and here he is in the Middle East. Florentin Hattemer, the Swiss ace, definitely knocking on the door of exceptionalism. F4 Italy and F4 Central European Zone last year for Genza, now in at Trident. There's Alba Larsen, car number 14, 17 years of age now. The Super Dane from Roskilde in Zealand. A Ferrari junior now, of course, raced in F1 Academy and mentored by Kevin Magnussen. There's the number 98, Peyton Westcott. She had a fantastic end to the 2025 season. Wildcard in Las Vegas in the F1 Academy, won in Formula Trophy UAE in Dubai, just down the road. So she's hoping for more of that winning attitude again when we go there in 2 weeks' time. There's Theo Palmer, race winner in F4 UK, and of course a front runner in F4 Saudi Arabia as well, continuing his journey, now racing on home soil. Number 97, Platon Kostin, the Kyrgyzstani, top 6 racer in the F4 SMP, a pole position, a fastest lap and 2 podiums there last year, coached by Ariel Elkin, superstar youngster in the US Road to Indy categories. There's Thomas Ingram Hill, 16 years of age, F4 GB and GB4 last year. Previous 2 years, he was in Ginetta Juniors. Here he is on the Yas Marina circuit with Evans GP. Next up on the grid, Emma Felbermeyer, very talented young Austrian, 18 years of age, Sauber Junior F1 Academy race winner, also competed in F4 GB and F4 Spain last year. She was in karting just a year before that. She's had an amazing 18 months. Number 54 next up, that is the XL driver Jarrett Clark from Northwest London, mixed parentage, Australian and British. Ginetta Juniors last year, Formula Trophy UAE last year, and Sodi Kart and Forza in international karting before that. Next up, for Pinnacle, it's Vladimir Verkalantsev for Andorra. Good to see him. Previously for the IPK Praga factory team in karting. Number 46, that's Jacopo Martinese, the Italian from Torresano in Lecce in the region of Puglia. And he was a Kart Republic factory driver for 3 seasons before stepping into F4 this year. Next up in the march, Joseph Smith for the XL Motorsport team based here in the UAE. 4 podiums and a fastest lap in Ginetta Junior last year, 6 times a race driver in F4 GB, and 2 years spent with the Victory Lane team in FIA karting. Next up, also for the XL Motorsport team, it is young Jaber Al-Sabar, the Kuwaiti, with a big opportunity in the future. Continuing on his challenge, he raced with XL in Formula Trophy rounds 1 and 2 last year. Now he's hoping for a full-time campaign. And as you can see, we've still got a whole collection of races behind them, and sadly, not enough time to talk you through them all. 38 drivers on the starting grid. Absolutely amazing how busy F4 in the Middle East has become. And we're here for the UAE4 series to kickstart for its first ever race here at Yas Marina. A whole host of competitors across 11 teams, and great to see everyone ready for the challenge ahead. So the mechanics are about to leave the drivers to it, and then they will wait for the green light on the starting gantry. When the green light comes on, they will go for their final formation lap around the course, where they get the chance to warm up the tyres and brakes to the optimum temperature the last time before we go racing. A tough challenge awaits these competitors. They get 25 minutes on the clock, 28 minutes on the clock, my apologies, and then the race will get underway. 38 drivers in the field. Our race director, Mr. Eduardo Freitas, who is of course famous for being the race director in the FIA World Endurance Championship, has made it very clear to both the Formula Regional and UAE4 drivers that driving standards will be good or there will be hell to pay. Green lights come on, green flag flies, our final formation lap before the season of racing begins. So many great talents, so many fantastic teams from around the world. And now it's the chance for these young men and women to show us what they're made of so far. I say so far because everybody learns at their own rate, and the speed of development is one of the toughest yardsticks to measure yourself on. Everybody learns at a different pace. You can win coming out of the blocks, or you can take a long time to get there, but everyone has their own racing journey, everyone has their own story, and every one of those is just as fascinating as the last. some are destined for Formula One, some are destined for the Indy 500, some for the Le Mans 24 Hours, some for the Nürburgring, some for Bathurst, some for anything else at all. Looks like we've got a slight issue on the starting grid. We've got 54 in trouble. That's Jarrett Clark. Jarrett Clark is having trouble getting away. So that is a real problem for young Jarrett Clark. He's still on the start line with an issue there. The officials and the marshals are trying to help him. So here's the starting grid. Alexander Bondarev alongside David Kozma, Andy Consani and Adam Al-Azari. Then Rowan Campbell-Pilling alongside Al Baksoy. Outside the top 6, it's very competitive. Elia Weiss is alongside Kenzo Craigie, and then Kingsley Jung and Christian Castoya rounding out the top 10. Then it's Emily Cotti and Nicolo Macagnani, and then behind them, we've got Florentin Hattemer and Alba Larsen in 14th. Next up, it's Peyton Westcott alongside Theo Palmer, Platon Kostin and Thomas Ingram Hill. Rounding out the top 20, it's Emma Felbermeyer alongside Jarrett Clark. Then Vladimir Verkalantsev and Jacopo Martinese. Joseph Smith is beside Jaber Al-Sabah. Beda Al-Sulaiti and Eduardo Iacobucci, Zachariah Dole and Dominic Shimek. Then Ben Yuing and Bernardo Bernaldi. Shabel Abi Gabriel is alongside Brock Burton. Kaylee Countryman is beside Lucas Pasquinetti. And then rounding out the field, we have Ryusha Nakazato and Thomas Gender, followed by Nasser Al-Thani and Scott Kinlin-Blom, whose times were disallowed in qualifying, and he has to go from the back of the grid. So with a Red Bull Junior lining up at the very tail of the field, and knowing how good Scott Kinlin-Blom is at overtaking at the best of times, we could see a real firecracker going from the back of the field to the front. So now the drivers make their way to their starting grid positions, and we will figure out what will happen from here. Alexander Bondarev lining up alongside David Kozma on the front row of the starting grid. There is Jarrett Clark in pit lane. Hopefully he'll be able to start from the pits and then chase after the field. But it's definitely going to be tricky from here on out, particularly for Scott Kinlin-Blom and Red Bull fans. They will have a tough, long race ahead of them, 28 minutes, as their man tries to charge his way through. They've got the engine going for Jarrett Clark, so he will start from the end of the pit lane. It's a long wait for the drivers at the front end of the field as they wait for the remaining drivers to line up on the grid. But now is the time for all of that hard work, all of that intense training, all of the conversations they've had with their engineers, their coaches, their sports fitness gurus, all their family and friends that have built them up to this. Now their 2026 season will begin in earnest. Scott Kinlin-Blom lines up at the very back of the grid, and we get the positions ready. The engine revs will rise and the lights will come on. When they go out, we'll be racing. Let's race in UAE4. The first race of the 2026 season, gets underway, and we charge our way forward with Bondarev in the lead. No problems at all for Kozma to run in close formation. They try and run around the outside of the Ukrainian, and it's going to be tricky on the first couple of corners of the lap, but Bondarev holds it from Kozma, and a fast starting Andy Consani as running wide. Already drivers are trying to take the escape roads, but it's no problem at all for Bondarev, Kozma and Consani, with Adam Al-Azari chasing back in 4th position, looking to make some moves into the W Hotel, a couple of lockups, but everybody just about keeping to themselves as they run through the right and through the left. Under the W Hotel, and it's already all guns blazing for Bondarev. He leads the field in good stead at the moment as the drivers now work their way onto the Formula One home straight. Bondarev is your leader, Kozma second, run wide from Consani in third, but Al-Azari is running in P4, and that's Rowan Campbell-Pilling, who's made a terrific start up into P5 in the pinnacle. So already there's been some very strong starts to this race as they work their way onto the far side, everybody trying to keep it nice and tidy. It's important to make good use of these opportunities. They don't want to be pushing too hard. But 28 minutes for these drivers will be the longest race that any of them have done in one stint other than in a kart. Big dives up the inside in the hairpin, couple of drivers going for a move or two, looking for the gap. And it's very tricky as we go down the back straight now, running towards turn 6 of the F1 circuit. As now we go under the bridge, down to the braking zone. This is a big stop, and look at the advantage that Bondarev's already started to build on Kozma. This is exactly what the man from Ukraine wanted. And it looks like our Superman up front is staying there. Bondi the Bison doesn't need to charge through the pack. He's got the lead all his own way. Across the line, Bondarev, Cosma, Kotsani, Alazari, Campbell Pilling, Aksoy, Craigie, Weiss and Jean. Emily Cotti has broken her way into the top 10 ahead of Macagnani and Costoya. Great start to her season. And Alba Larsen is just on the outskirts of the top 10 as well. How far up the road has Lindblom gone? 23rd! Goodness me, he's overtaken 15 cars on the opening lap. Excellent work from Scotkin Lindblom. No wonder Red Bull picked him up. So as the field works its way through on the first... Oh! And out of the race, that's Abby Gabriel. So Charbel Abby Gabriel has gone into the barriers before the end of the lap, and that could put us under safety car. Currently we're under yellow flags. But Charbel Abi Gabriel, the Lebanese driver who carries the UAE flag because he lives here, unfortunately is in the barriers with a broken front wing. So that is bad news, and it could be bad news for everybody because we could end up with a safety car. But for the moment, we're still under green flag conditions apart from turn 6. That's a battle between Palmer and Larson. Good battles between those two, and Peyton Westcott is in the mix with them as well. Trying to stay in front of... Platon Costin at the moment, who's trying to make his move on Westcott. So they all run in close proximity. Safety car, there we go. Safety car has been called. And so we're under safety car conditions at this moment in time. So the competitors are really going to get another crack at Bondarev at this rate. Some big opportunities coming. And certainly a very exciting race is on the march for these guys on the restart. They all know how difficult things can be on the restart, and Bondarev has had plenty of experience in karting of restarts from the lead, but he's still getting used to life in the lead of F4 races. He's done a fantastic job of it so far. The young man from Kiev, who is currently residing in Monza in Italy, really has soaked himself up with motor racing culture. And Williams think he is absolutely the bee's knees, and certainly Ukraine's next big hope for a Formula 1 driver. Bondarev, Cosma, Konsani, Alazari and Campbell Pilling. That's the top 5 under safety car proceedings after the incident for Charbel Abi Gabriel. So there is the safety car, picks up the leader. Nice and efficient, the team here at EMSO, the Emirates Motorsports Organisation. Oh, and there's a car coming into the pit lane without a rear wing. That's Bernardo Bonaldi. So Bernardo Bonaldi, who has the same helmet design as his father Enrique, unfortunately is now trundling down pit lane minus a rear wing. So that tells us a little bit about what happened then. Perhaps there was a collision between Bonaldi and Charbel Abi Gabriel. We're going to see a replay of the start. All nice and tidy at the top 5. Bondarev pulling straight across on Cosma. Konsani pulling straight across on Alazari and Campbell Pilling. Campbell Pilling actually had the measure of Alazari down into turn 1, but Adam was absolutely perfect on the way through turn 1. Got himself to the inside, forced Rowan Campbell Pilling to back off the throttle. And Campbell Pilling actually went onto the curbs. So 2 drivers going for the same bit of track. It was Adam Alazari that won the day on that one. On that first lap, Campbell Pilling also had to take a little bit of a defensive stance there on Alpaksoy. A couple of lockups to the W Hotel. But actually, on the whole, everybody keeping it nice and tidy. You can already make out Scotkin Lindblom just cutting through the field like a hot knife through cheese. Absolutely flamboyant with these moves. But you can see already that even in the opening stages of the race, drivers are struggling to stay on terms. And that is the number 17. So that is Zachariah Dolay. That's another of the Yazheat drivers in trouble. So Zachariah Dolay is into the pits and out of the race. That's unfortunate. So several competitors in trouble at the first port of call. And so now everybody is putting himself into a decent position at the front end of the field. Emily Cotti is in the top 10 and hoping to continue making charges forward. But Bondarev is your leader. Cosma in second. Konsani is third. So that's Ukraine, Romania and France in the top 3. And there is Zachariah Dolay getting out of the car. He'll be very disappointed indeed. That is not the way he wanted his first race of 2026 to get underway. Hopefully he'll be back for more tomorrow and he'll have much better luck. on the back straight then. Safety car still on track, so we're not going to go racing next time by. If we were, then obviously the lights would go out on the safety car. You can see how the light is fading here though at Abu Dhabi. By the time we get to the last race of the day, the Formula Regional Middle East Trophy season opener, we could well be going into the night sky, which the drivers always relish. You can see the safety team moving Shabal Abi Gabriel's car out of the way. So after only a couple of laps, I'm afraid to say the Yazid Racing Academy's contingent has been halved. So the only two drivers in the team still going are Adam Al-Azhari, who's currently in 4th place, and Eduardo Iacobucci, who is in 24th behind Scotkin Lindblom. Now the safety car is both good news and bad news for Scotkin Lindblom, who's up to 23rd from his original back of the grid starting position. He went through 15 cars at the start, but obviously the safety car reduces the green flag running, and that gives him less time to get himself back up the order. But of course it does bunch up the field, so it makes it slightly easier for him to close up on his rivals. So it's a difficult situation for the Swede to be in, but he's obviously got to do the best he can with the situation. We apologize for the signal issue. The weather has been a little bit stronger in terms of wind than we first perceived it to be. We are trying to get on top of the issue as soon as possible, but these are all unforeseen difficulties. In all of the tests we did midweek, everything was absolutely fine, so there's a glitch somewhere, but we will try and rectify it as soon as possible. Fortunately though, the racing drivers can distract you from that once we go green flag again, which I have a feeling is going to be at the end of this lap. Looking at the signs as I look out of the window, the marshal is communicating, it looks like they're getting ready for a restart. So we just have to wait for the command, which will probably be a few seconds time. 19 minutes to go in the race, so it's going to be a bit of a short dash sprint. Safety car in at the end of this lap. That's what I thought we were going to do. If in doubt, take a second lap. And that's exactly what we've done. So the safety car lights are out, and Alexander Bondarev now becomes the safety car in essence. And it's up to him from now on as to when we drop the throttle. But of course, when they come out of the final chicane, we are under green flag conditions, no overtaking until they get to the finish line. And then it's all down to the drivers. Safety car lights are out, it will peel into the pits, and now it's up to Bondi the Bison up front. As you can see, he's taking his sweet time about going out onto green flag conditions again. But if he nails it right, none of the other drivers will even get a look in. So Bondarev just taking his time. He wants his tyres a certain condition before he goes through the chicane. Now he's going to nail it! Very nicely done indeed from Bondarev. He made it look effortless on that restart. And Cosma is just hoping that he can pick up the toe as we go green, 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 green in the UAE4 Series Season Opener 2026. Race 1 continues. Cosma and Katsani battling away. Al-Azhari, Campbell Pilling, Aksoy and Craigie dueling. Then Weiss, Jung and Cotti. That looked like Aksoy having to defend from Kenzo Craigie. Craigie's really pushing it, but Aksoy's got the measure of him through the first apex of the first corner. And a big run wide there. That's Elia Weiss, I think, going wide. He should be able to catch that. But we only saw it mid-moment as Al-Azhari is trying to drop Rowan Campbell-Pilling and go straight after Adi Konsani. So some slight difficulties there. Apologies. We will get on top of it. But David Cosma chasing after Alexander Bondarev. He leads the way. 3rd place is Adi Konsani trying to drop Adam Al-Azhari again. Then it's Campbell Pilling, Aksoy, Craigie, Weiss, Jung, Cotti, Macagnani, Costoya, Palmer, Larson, Westcott, Costin, Verkalantsev and Ingram Hill. And that is very nearly half the field. It's certainly half the field of the remaining runners, as we've already lost a fair few. Continuing to battle our way up the crest, and then they will drop down onto the karting circuit, essentially. 3 retirements from this race so far. Zachariah Dole, Bernardo Benaldi and Shabel Abi Gabriel. 35 drivers still circulating, and you can see that there are battles all the way to the back of the field. Goodness me, Kaylee Countryman getting in the wars there with Ben Yuing. So Bondarev leads down the back straight. Under the bridge, and you can see already that there's quite an intense battle coming from Andy Konsani. Consani fancies his chances down into the braking zone. Will he get the dive? No, he's too far back. But Consani sizing up the moment here on Cosma. Cosma needs a good exit out of the chicane to ward him off. 16 minutes remain. And so still the drivers battle on. Down to the hairpin. All going well for the time being. But Bondarev, 0.3 of a second ahead of Cosma at the line. And you can see Cosma already struggling to keep back Consani. The Frenchman makes his first real look. Can't make it stick there, has to wait on the approach to the W Hotel. Lazari, Campbell Pilling and Aksoy with Craigie in tow. Then Weiss, Jung, Cotti, and then Costoya leads the cavalry. Macagnani, Palmer, Larson, Westcott and Costin all very close together. Big lock up there from Joseph Smith as Skotkin Lindblom tries to dive up the inside. That's the first real challenge Skotkin Lindblom's had so far. He's up to 20th, so he's been able to get ahead of Felbermeyer, Al-Sulaiti, Al-Sabar, Jacobucci and Martinez since the restart. Down the Formula One straight. 15 minutes to go still. So as they work their way through, it's not going to be easy to determine who's going to get the best of it. A couple of moves, a couple of defensive tactics as Emma Felbermeyer has a look on the inside line there of Beda Al-Sulaiti. Al-Sulaiti runs wide. Can Felbermeyer pick that up? She's not quite close enough to take advantage. She might be able to get the momentum down the crest though, and up to the hairpin. Down in pit lane, they can see all the numbers. They can figure out what it all means. And the Trident team, hopeful that their drivers can continue the charge forward. So Bondarev, he's got a bit of daylight now, hasn't he, between himself and David Cosma, as Aksoy and Rowan Campbell-Pilling have the fastest second sector of anybody. Consani's going to dive! This is going to be beautiful. What an overtake from Andy Consani. Good launch on the inside of David Cosma, and he tidies it up nicely on the exit. So Andy Consani, the Mercedes Junior, gets up past David Cosma and into second place. And there's more battles where that came from. Campbell-Pilling's got Aksoy and Craigie, as well as Elia Weiss in pursuit. Here comes the bid from Al-Baksoy. Rowan Campbell-Pilling chops across. Aksoy changes direction, and they almost clatter into each other at the first corner. And the teammates are side by side. That's Weiss trying to go around the outside of his teammate Kenzo Craigie. Well, they're really up for a scrap in 2026. Still Kenzo Craigie holding on. Oh no, that's Weiss in front. Weiss has got ahead of Kenzo Craigie. So the 32 now ahead of the 29. So Elia Weiss, 16 years of age from Munich in Germany. He's been able to make his way through. Still good battles all the way through. As Alexander Bondarev has now managed to pull 1.8 seconds on the men behind him. That's what that overtaking move has cost the chasing pack. Consani getting ahead of Cosma, but Bondarev has got daylight now between himself and second place man Andy Consani. But don't forget, of course, that Andy Consani will be pole position for race 3 tomorrow, so it's already looking like these two could well be the consistent point scorers of the championship. Track limits warning for number 27. That's Bondarev. That's the race leader. He may be leading, he may be pulling away, but it's not perfect. He's got to keep himself checked in. He's got to rein himself in. Track limits warning number 1. You only get 3 and then you get a penalty. Down the back straight. Cosma trying to shake off Al-Azari. Al-Azari's got the toe. Will he be close enough to launch in on the inside? He's trying to trick Cosma into defending, and that will compromise him for the exit of the chicane. So there could still be a bid from Al-Azari into turn 1. This is a chess move now for Al-Azari. Put him out of position, make him make the first move, compromise himself, and then he'll have the momentum going down the main straight. But as you can see, he's not quite close enough yet. Campbell-Pilling, Aksoy, Weiss, Craigie, Jung and Cotti. That's the remainder of the drivers in the top 10. Al-Azari, what an amazing education he's had. He's had Kareem, a very talented racing driver, not just here in the UAE, but in sports car racing globally in general. And his older brother Keanu, who has been a race winner in multiple single-seater categories and was the youngest ever driver to start the Dubai 24 Hours a couple of years ago. Black and orange flag for the 90. Oh, that's why. Trundling down pit lane, Kaylee Countryman's got no front wing. Very unfortunate indeed for the American. So back into the pits then comes the number 90 from Chandler, Arizona, comes Kaylee Countryman. And so the team at Pinnacle will be trying to get her back out again as quickly as possible. But that is definitely not in the script for the team. They would rather have hoped for a little bit better luck than that. So very unfortunate to see how that has progressed for her. As we go down to the hairpin once again, Bondarev, half a second now only. Difference in lap time pace. Well, the actual gap has gone up to 2.3 seconds as Kaylee Countryman exits the pits with a new front wing. So at least she can continue. And in a race like this, with 10 minutes to go and a lot of battles still on track, you never know what's going to happen. So it makes total sense for her to get back out there. Bondarev still looking so smooth in the lead of the race. And that's what you need to win these races. You need to be smooth because you've got to look after these tyres. Kostoya trying to get on the move of Emily Cotti. No, you don't, she says. Emily Cotti defends valiantly there from Kostoya. And as they come off the turn, Kostoya is going to be in the draft of Emily Cotti, who is glued to the inside line. Weiss and Craigie, her teammates, still tuning away for 7th place. But we really need to look back and see if Kostoya had what it took to get ahead of Emily Cotti, who is still absolutely nailed to P10. Needs to get closer to Kingsley Jung if she wants to take some of the pressure off. Down to the W Hotel though, go Weiss and Craigie. There goes Jung, and Cotti's still ahead. Don't you dare, she snaps. In 10th position, holding on from Kostoya, Macagnani, Palmer, Larson, Westcott and Costin. This is very good racecraft, even if you haven't got the pace or the tyres underneath you to hold on to the cars in front. Being a good defensive driver is what can make the difference in the end of it. So very good and very calm work so far from Emily Cotti. Not overdriving it, just keeping it nice and tidy. These last couple of points could make all the difference later in the season. This is one race, don't forget, and it's the first race of the season. There's Alba Larson trying to chase down Theo Palmer, the boy from Dubai. Peyton Westcott's right behind Larson, so we've got 3 ladies in the top 15 of a 38-car championship. Well, if you want to know if women can compete against the men, there's your answer. Of course they can. Bondarev, your leader. Almost 2.5 seconds clear now as number 32 gets a track limits warning. That's Elia Weiss. So the 16-year-old now has a track limits violation. He's got to be careful. His teammate Kenzo Craigie is right behind him. They've been dueling away for quite some time. Meanwhile, Rowan Campbell-Pilling is still having to defend from Alpak Soy as Christian Kostoya dives in on Cotti, who still refuses to yield. Fantastic racecraft from both of them. Kostoya had the obvious overtaking move lined up. Cotti deciding, is that all you've got? Come on, pull off a real overtake. Still, Cotti and Kostoya absolutely at each other's throats. And here comes Scott Kin-Lindblom. Dives up on the inside. Thank you very much, I'll take that. No problems at all getting ahead of Platon Costin as Alba Larson goes wheel to wheel with Theo Palmer, and they bang wheels. Can Larson hold this round the outside? She's got to commit. Don't be frightened. Palmer slices up the inside. Larson doing everything she can. But on this occasion, she has to concede to Theo Palmer. Otherwise, there would have been an accident. But great racecraft. And look, Cotti is still ahead of Kostoya. No chance, mate. Is that all you've got? Brilliant racing. These may be for the last couple of points, but don't forget, there's also a decent grid position on offer for tomorrow's reverse grid race. So this matters. Cotti still hanging on in front of Kostoya as we get into the last 7 minutes of the first race of the season. Now to the braking zone. Drivers still looking for that big move. There is Jabbar Al-Sabah, the Kuwaiti, trying to improve his fortunes in the XL Motorsport car. Still going strong as we get down to the braking zone. Back up the long straight. Adam Al-Azari trying to stay with Cosma. It's not easy. The tyres really start to drop away and you really start to lose the car as Bondarev drops to 2.4 seconds now ahead of Andy Consani, so he is losing a little bit of time. Right, Scott Kin-Lindblom's going to have to defend for the first time in this race because here comes Peyton Westcott. And in fact, she bails out of it to avoid hitting the rear wing, and that's enough for Platten Costin. Thank you, I'll take it. That'll do for me, and I'll charge after Scotkin Lindblom, who is now in P15. Meanwhile, the teammates are still at it. Weiss versus Craigie. Craigie goes long, because that's where Weiss sends him. Craigie can hold this round the outside, keep his foot in, and then tuck back in, ready for a tow up to the W Hotel. Leans left. Tries to pop out to the right-hand side, but the dirty air catches him and the car almost washes out in the front. So it's all to no avail. It's not quite so easy to slam the car up the inside line and make the move as it is in karting. The race start is under investigation, we're told, so someone has obviously transgressed in some way. We'll keep an eye on that, because that could change the face of the race for somebody. But certainly for Alexander Bondarev, his lead is 2.4 over Andy Consani. The gaps that you're seeing there on your screen are actually the differences in lap time, not the difference between the cars out on the course. So Scotkin Lindblom is only travelling about 0.3 of a second slower per lap than the race leader. And the only reason he's that far off him is that he's having to overtake cars. So imagine if he had a clear track in front of him, he'd probably be lapping the same sort of pace as the race leader. Adam Alazari struggling to stay in the tow of Cosma. Even Alpaxoy is struggling to stay in the tow of Rowan Campbell-Pilling now. Kenzo Craigie's got a tow on his teammate Elia Weiss. So let's see if this turns into an overtake. Meanwhile, Castoya's finally got the move on Emily Cotti. We didn't see it, sadly, but Castoya's got the move and into P10 ahead of Emily Cotti, with Nicola Macagnani right behind her. As Aksoy's ahead of Rowan Campbell-Pilling. What happened there? So Aksoy has got ahead of Rowan Campbell-Pilling. We didn't see it. That's what's happening. It's happening right in front of us. Aksoy's finally got his man, and Campbell-Pilling is not happy. He wants him back. Outside. Can he tuck back in for the switcheroo? Looks for the way past on the exit. And these two are still at it. Weiss is going to lose out to Craigie here, isn't he? Craigie's on the outside. Weiss is still holding it to the inside. Amazing defense from Elia Weiss, but Craigie's committing round the outside. Can he still have space to finish it? He does! Kenzo Craigie, brilliant racecraft. Elia Weiss and Kenzo Craigie still side by side. They've been like this for half a lap, and they're still at it, and Craigie finally gets the job done, only for Weiss to break later and get back level with him. They've been side by side for most of the lap. Craigie versus Weiss, Weiss versus Craigie, both of them determined to make this move theirs. And finally, the move is completed by Kenzo Craigie, only for him to drift wide so that Weiss can have another go at him. Well, there's no love lost at RHGP, is there? Brilliant racing. So the two of them absolutely nail to nail as they run through, but that has cost them both time, as Kingsley Jung and Christian Castoya are closing up on them. Kingsley Jung fancies his chances there on the inside. They're still holding each other up. And if Jung and Castoya get the pace down the straight and get a tow, they could both be vulnerable. It was great racing between the two of them to watch, but they've definitely compromised themselves. They've now got some cars to play with down to the braking zone. So into the braking zone we go, and they're still at it, these two. They're still at it. So Kingsley Jung and Castoya now have to be careful how they come through. So Craigie, side by side with Weiss, and look at the background. That's Kingsley Jung about to lose out to Castoya, with Emily Cotti not far away. Still the RHGP cars are side by side, nothing in it. Whatever you do, don't hit your teammate, as Kingsley Jung locks up. That's enough for Castoya to get into 9th place. But still Craigie versus Weiss. Absolutely no holds barred. Still at it. Fantastic racing. As Kingsley Jung is now falling into the clutches of Emily Cotti and Nicola Macagnani. Bit of a twitch there from Castoya. Tidied it up in the W Hotel. But it is very, very tricky. This is when the tyres are at their loudest. Screaming at these drivers. Come on, give us a break. We've been at this for 27 minutes. But as far as the drivers are concerned, they just need them to hold on a little bit longer. And as you can see, Aksoy and Campbell-Pilling are now very close together. Campbell-Pilling wants another crack at Alp-Aksoy before the end. But Bondarev has been so smart up front here. He's kept this gap between himself and Andy Consani to 2.4 seconds. He's not needed to extend. He's not needed to push the car too hard. He's just been on a tyre conservation run. Look at it. The gap is enough. It doesn't need to be bigger than this. He just needs to cool him down, rein himself in. And this is great work. Very smooth debut from Consani as well, though. Don't take that away from him. Consani will definitely be a threat for this title. There's no two ways about that. Cosma, Al-Azhari, Aksoy and Campbell-Pilling. Still these two. Well, it looks like they finally settled their differences. Craigie ahead of Weiss. It looks like that could be the way it finishes between those two. Craigie's been able to get clear of Weiss. Castoya's chasing them down. And Emily Cotti fancies a crack at Kingsley Jung before the end. The final few seconds of this race, though, as Skotkin Lindblom has made his way to 14th. He's now going to try and take on Alba Larsen. But he's got problems of his own here because Theo Palmer's trying to get back in there. No chance. I'll hold on to that, thank you. Time has run down to 0. So when the leader crosses the line, we'll have one more lap. 28 minutes plus 1 lap is what you get. And there is one Lone Ranger at the back of the field. That is Brock Burton, I do believe. Oh no, that's Kaylee Countryman, my apologies. So Kaylee Countryman still having a very solid run. But unfortunately her problems with the front wing earlier on have rather taken her out of the competition. So we're now waiting for the leader to come through and reach the finish line. At that point, we will have 1 lap to go. But this has been a very smooth race out in front for Alexander Bondarev. 2.4 seconds clear. Track limits warning, violation. 3rd warning, in fact, for the 12. And that is Adam Al-Azhari. A 3rd warning for Adam Al-Azhari for turn 1 track limits. So, is that going to lead to a penalty? We'll have to keep an eye on it, but the last lap board is being prepared. And when Alexander Bondarev comes through this chicane and blasts out of the right-hander, he'll come over the line and see the last lap board. And it really will be a sensational charge to the line for Bondi the Bison. Alexander Bondarev, the Williams F1 junior driver. What a chance this has been for him to prove his mettle. And he has definitely shown his composure. He's lost a couple of tenths of a second, but that won't be enough to break a sweat. Look back and we've got some battles coming. Here comes Lindblom on the attack of Alba Larsen. Well, sadly, we switched to Andy Consani before we could see that battle unravel. But there's certainly going to be a couple of shuffles of the deck if we're not careful. Consani just trying to stay with Bondarev just in case something goes wrong, just in case he makes a mistake. But certainly, Alexander Bondarev enjoying his time in the lead. He's had a very tough education in the world of F4 so far. 2024 and 2025 were very tough years. Testing in 24, racing in 25, but now in 2026, he's a front runner, and he deserves to be. He works so hard. There's not many drivers on the grid that eats, sleeps, and breathes racing quite as much as this youngster. A few years ago, we didn't know if he would ever walk again after his accident at Thuera. Never mind be leading in fantastic style here at Yas Marina. He won the 2 support Grand Prix races here in fine style, sadly behind closed doors, so we couldn't celebrate it. Now we're going to celebrate a history-making moment, the first ever UAE4 Series race and the first F4 race of 2026 is going to be won by Ukraine's next big international motorsport hope. No man has ever raced in Formula One carrying the Ukrainian colours. This man could well be on the mission to become the first. The Williams Jr., the boy from Kiev, Bondi the Bison, will cross the line first. Alexander Bondarev opens the UAE4 account victorious. Brilliant win for Bondarev. Consani in second. A fabulous debut for the Frenchman. Cosma ahead of Al-Azhari. Great run from the Romanian. 5th place will be Alp-Aksoy ahead of Rowan Campbell-Pilling. The dueling teammates Kenzo Craigie and Elia Weiss just ahead of Christian Castoya. And then Kingsley Jung from Emily Cotti and Niccolo Macagnani. Alba Larsen 13th. Skotkin Lindblom went from 38th to 14th. Great race. But what an amazing start to the season for Alexander Bondarev, the Williams Junior, living up to all of the hype and the expectation around him. That was exactly what he was hoping for. The 16-year-old from Kiev, he lives in Monza in Italy, just a few miles away from the Cathedral of Speed itself. Every time there's testing, he goes and watches, picking up as many tips as he can. But the Williams Junior opens his account with flamboyance, discipline and control. A brilliant victory to start the year for Alexander Bondarev. Andy Konsani second from David Kozma, then Adam Alazari in fourth ahead of Alpak Soy and Rowan Campbell-Pilling. Kenzo Craigie ahead of Elia Weiss, then Christian Castoya ahead of Kingsley Jung. Emily Cotti just ahead of Nicola Macchignani, Alba Larsen and Skotkin Lindblom, Theo Palmer and Peyton Westcott, three ladies in the top 16. Platon Kostin, Vladimir Verkalantsev, Thomas Ingram Hill and Beda Al-Sulaiti. Emma Felbermeyer 21st ahead of Jabba El-Sabah, then Jacopo Martinezzi ahead of Jarrett Clark, Dominic Šimek, Florentin Hattimer, Eduardo Jacobucci, Joseph Smith, Ben Ewing and Brock Burton, followed by Ryusha Nakazato, Lucas Pasquinetti, Nasser Al-Thani and Kaylee Countryman. Thomas Gender down at the back, the retirements Zachariah Dole, Bernardo Benaldi and Shabel Abi Gabriel. But Alexander Bondarev really has put himself into the shop window for the big teams in 2027 already. An amazing start to the season for Mumbai Falcons, a great start for the Williams Junior, and for every Ukrainian watching, your hero is just getting better and better all the time. There was no need to be a bison today. He was just stunning from the outset. Never in doubt at all. A fantastic start to the year, and in absolutely majestic fashion, it goes the way of the Ukrainian from pole position, lights to flag, invincible. And he climbs the car. That's what it means to win the first race of the season. But in typical Alexander Bondarev fashion, it's all just noise. He'll get on with it and he'll continue the journey, but that was just race number 1 out of 12 in this campaign. That's one done. Let's just keep the momentum rolling. He never really celebrates until the job is done, but it's a perfect start for Bondi the Bison.
2026 UAE4 Series, round 1 of Yas Marina Circuit. So let's welcome the drivers onto the podium. In third position, representing Romania, David Cosma! A terrific start to the season for the youngster from Prema Racing. In second place for France, Andy Gonzalez! A great start for the Mercedes Junior, and I'm sure the first of many podiums. But your race winner for Ukraine, Alexander Bondarev! A brilliant start for the Bison from Ukraine. And finally our rookie winner for Turkey, please welcome Al Baksoy! As the Formula Regional cars make their way onto the circuit for their reconnaissance lap, it is great to welcome our drivers to the podium. Now it is my honour to invite Emir Shrakay, the Yas Marina Circuit Portfolio and Programmes Director, who will present the trophies to our contenders on the podium. So starting with the trophy for third position, representing Romania and Prema Racing, David Cosma! And for our driver in second position, for France and for Race GP, Andy Gonzalez! And to our race winner for Ukraine and Mumbai Falcons, Alexander Bondarev! And finally to our rookie winner for Turkey and Mumbai Falcons, Alp Aksoy! So a big congratulations to our drivers as they pose for photographs. Straight ahead please, gentlemen. And we will have our pictures with the 4 drivers on the podium for the first UAE4 Series race of 2026. And now the drivers can celebrate in the true fashion that they always do in motorsport. It's time for the boys here at UAE4 to get busy with the big things. Congratulations to Alexander, to David Costa, to Andy Gonzalez, and to our race one winner, Alexander Bondarev! Well, ladies and gentlemen, that brings the first race of the season to a conclusion.